It is Thursday. It is January 5th. It is the first Warren Hayes AEW Dynamite review of 2023. By God, pal. How's everybody doing? Thank you for being here. Hope, if you didn't have a chance to pop in and listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes show proper this week, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, I'm not going to be here out policing you. Happy New Year. I wished everyone a Happy New Year there. I want to make sure that if you're, maybe you just come for the Dynamite reviews too, which is dope. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope 2023 is great. Just as great as last night's episode of Dynamite, which we're going to be talking about. But hey, first and foremost, we got to get through this little bit of nonsense that people keep telling me more, and it's very important that you do it every time. Leave a like on this video if you're watching this on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. And hey, consider subscribing as well. That way you'll never miss another AEW Dynamite review for the rest of your life. Plus, you'll get notified when I do other stuff, such as the Mr. Warren Hayes show, my full-length podcast on everything that has to do with the world of pro wrestling, which is recorded live every Tuesday. So there you go. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, I appreciate that as well. 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify, any kind of, bits of love that you can show helps grow the podcast. And it's been a good year so far. It's been a good past couple of weeks. I've done some tweaking to the SEO as well, something that I've been meaning to do for a while. I did some tweaking to the SEO, and I think it's paying dividends. I think people look for, let's say, wrestling podcasts more than they look for Warren Hayes out there. Just saying. Sometimes SEO is a kick to the ego. What are you going to do? Realize people aren't searching for my name. Oh, well, all right then. Look, we had another packed episode of Dynamite that we are going to be talking about today. And I thought, once again, it was a very good wrestling show. Once again, on top of that. But you know what? Here's the thing that I am raising a flag here. I didn't necessarily want to get into this conversation because I thought maybe I felt a couple of the pieces that some peers had been bringing up. I thought they were a little, maybe a little more reactionary. I was like, hey, as Alexa Bliss once told us, let's let things play out a little bit. And I'm last night though. There's stuff on last night's Dynamite that I can't avoid, and I have to chime in and I have to talk about it. I'm concerned about the level of WWE-ification that is happening in AEW right now. There's a lot of people who got triggered by the new sets, right? I like the new look of Dynamite, the laser light show. I think it's great. I think AEW at the Planetarium is the next logical step here. I dig it. I know, but seriously, I'm a big fan of that kind of aesthetic, right? So it works for me, and I think the set overall, the new set is lovely, albeit just LED screens and losing a lot of personality. I love the laser light shows, the tons of LED screens. I'm like, okay, reminds me of another place. And, rest in peace, the tunnels. I'm going to miss the tunnels. I'm absolutely going to miss the tunnels. I thought that was something that was very unique to AEW. And I feel that uniqueness in the set, like I said, despite the fact that the sets look good, I think we're losing a bit of flavor. Is it a question that Tony Khan has to make his product look a little more premium? Well, it does. It does end up looking more premium. Look, here's the thing. You see those huge LED signs, and you're like, yeah, you know what? This is very WWE. You know, it's hard not to go that way. But then again, like everything in entertainment is LED screens these days. Hell, going to a fast food restaurant is LED screens now, right? Like, when's the last time you went into a McDonald's and walked up there and you still had, the physical menu that's basically just a decal that the managers would just press over a lighted up backboard, right? When's the last time you saw that? You come in and it's screens everywhere. I go to A&W, probably my favorite fast food joint here in Canada. And they have that too. And they're the retro, like their whole thing is retro, right? The orange and brown but they're doing it too. So, it's screens everywhere. I guess that's why I'm going to miss maybe I'm going to miss the tunnels a bit because it felt a little more analog, I guess. But you have that. And, a couple of weeks ago, when they revealed the custom belt for MJF, I was like, custom belts, that's a very WWE thing. Because I don't know of any other promotion in the history of pro wrestling that did custom belts for wrestlers, for events. You know what I mean? The Smoking Skull belt, the Brahma Bull belt, the fucking spinner belt, the Fiend stretchy, fleshy belt, the Daniel Bryan belt. Like, that's a very WWE thing to do, right? I'm like, oh. But I let it slide. I let it slide because it fits with MJF. You know what I mean? Like, because I was like, you know what? This works for a guy like MJF who just, he will reject anything and make, and he will reject as much as he wants to make him come across as better than everyone else, right? So it didn't unnerve me all that much. But this week, the sets and the guns segment, I was like, no, wait a second. Hang on a minute now. This is enough. Yeah, no. Because the gun segment, should we talk about it now? Because the gun segment last night pushed me over the limit. Where I was like, this is absolutely 100% WWE bullshit. This is the kind of thing that I have no use for. And I even, I was hanging around on Twitter and in the Discord and I was like, wait, is this suddenly Monday night? Coming out to, pay respects, bury the career of FTR, rest in peace, and having the very light set of, having two easels with the pictures of Cash and Dax there. And then they're all dressed up. They're very solemn and they're reading off of cards. Probably reading off of cards because they came up with the shit today and didn't have time to rehearse anything. And then they had, all the graphics, the tombstone, and everything about this just screamed sports entertainment to me. And I was like, I have no use for this. Absolutely right down to FTR's music starts playing. They're like, no, we got you. I'm like, I lost my mind watching that segment. I completely lost it. And anyone who listens to the Mr. Warren Hayes show knows how I feel about the guns and how I think, because everyone's always like, who's gonna make the jump to WWE? Who's gonna jump to WWE? And I keep telling you, Austin Gunn is a guy who in a moment's notice will flip. And he'll be welcomed there with open arms because he has the look, he has the chops, he has the charisma, he's able to work a mic, he's got every element in his favor to make it in WWE. He's a WWE guy. He looks like one. Perfect for it. And I'm not saying this disparagingly, right? Look, if acting, performance, it's all about looking the part. It's all about being what the casting director wants, what the director wants, whatever. And that he's what they want. He's gonna, and this was proof positive to me at this moment, at this conjuncture in time, where I look at this and I'm like, okay. I'm like, it just confirms. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Now there's people, when I was talking about this, who brought up the fact, it's like, well, Warren, that promo with MJF and Bryan Danielson was a kind of WWE-ish. Yeah, but no. And I understand where they're coming from on that point. And again, let's have this conversation in a couple of weeks. Because if what we're doing every week is, slutty mom jokes, or your mom's a slut joke, it's different. Doesn't quite mean the same thing. But if we're doing your mom's a slut jokes every week, and we're having 9-minute promos every week, then I'm going to get to a point where I'm like, I'm fed up of this. And yeah, it does feel very WWE. But, and I'll talk about it a little later when we get to that segment. We'll pick it apart a little better. But ultimately, I felt like it did a very good service to set up the biggest feud in the company that's going to lead us to Revolution. I mean, there was nothing more clear that this is your main event feud to lead to Revolution. I think you're not paying attention if you think that it might be something else at this point. So they had to set it up good and proper, and I think they did it. And this is a catch-22 for AEW, because if they just roll with whatever they had going for Danielson and MJF, which is clear to me and everything is fine, if they just roll with that for the next few weeks leading into Revolution, there'll be a very loud contention of people who are going to be like, I don't understand what's going on. Where are the video recaps? I don't understand this story. Why are they mad at each other? But now they took a pause. They took a story pause to say, listen, we're maybe setting aside. We've used I'm already picking it apart. We've used the William Regal plot line to get us to this point. Now, at this point here, we cannot carry the next few weeks on leading us into March, because don't forget, Revolution is still in about a little over 2.5 months at this point. Well, no, pretty much 2 months from now. Not even 2.5, 2 months from now. That's just Bryan Danielson wanting to get revenge for William Regal is not going to carry 2 months of build. So we're going to do something else. And I think this set the stage. The stage is set. We've got a very interesting story bump here. And now we're going to be able to get some resolution moving on as we keep going forward. Very exciting stuff. I thought it was well played. But I also understand why people thought that this was maybe a little more on the WWE side. But nothing compared to the Ass Boys segment. That shit was trash. And this is one of these circumstances where I hope and pray that anyone in AEW who listens to this, I hope you take this as the most wonderfully crafted criticism of a show that I love, my favorite weekly wrestling show. If I want this kind of stuff, I know where to turn. I know where to look. I can tune into Monday nights for 3 hours and Friday nights for 2 hours. I know where to find this shit. I watch AEW for an entirely different reason. I watch it because the other guys do not provide what AEW does on a weekly basis. Doesn't provide it to me. So let's move forward here. Let's leave the sports entertainment to the sports entertainment company, and let's just keep focusing on wrestling here, because this shit stunk. And it reeked of WWE. And and I'm still remaining very optimistic with the hiring of Michael Mansory, right? The former TV producer that worked with Kevin Dunn in WWE. Look, I thought, if he was the driving force behind the new sets, the new look, I even felt the lighting in the audience was a little different, added more depth to the audience. Like, if he's responsible for these I was going to say little tweaks, but substantial tweaks, I think it's fine, because 3 years into it, you just give a nice fresh coat of paint. Show feels different, looks different. I'm okay with it, and I don't fear difference. I don't fear change. I really don't. But always in the back of my mind, I was like, look, he's a former WWE guy. How far is this going to go? And we're treading some water here. But I'll tell you one thing that is not WWE that happened on the show last night. One thing that is absolutely not WWE-esque. It is putting on 3 guys from the Seattle area, or locals, or who have roots in the Seattle, Washington area on your show, on your first show in Seattle. Bryan Danielson, Swerve, Darby, and they all go over. All of them. That is how you build goodwill with your audience, with your local audience, first and foremost. Makes your show look hot to the viewer on television. You could not have watched Dynamite last night and be like, wow, what a cold show. That Seattle crowd had been waiting for some AEW. They were excited for some All Elite Wrestling, and Jesus Christ, they were into it. They maintained their energy throughout the entire show. Not even the ass boys could suck the air out of that room. But for real though, and on top of it all, it builds anticipation for your next show. Because this is not a small venue. Climate Pledge Arena is, as I like to say, a basketball arena, even though it is not there, let's say a hockey arena. It's like 17, 18,000 seats, something like that. And it looked full. It sounded full, or close to anyway, if it wasn't full. So what's going to happen next time? What is going to happen next time AEW sort of makes its way back into Seattle, back into Washington State? What do you think is going to happen? People are going to be like, yeah, fuck yeah. Last time was a hoot. It was a hoot and a holler. I'm going to buy another ticket. So that is the complete opposite of what WWE does. The complete and utter opposite. There were some bold decisions made on this show. We're going to talk about them. Let's get to it. Like I said, from the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington, that aired on January 4th. Started off so fucking hot. My God, this crowd was into it. Like, the crowd is a story of this show. These people, cheers to Seattle. This was they made this show so much better. It was already a good show, don't get me wrong, but it made it so much better because everything felt hot, looked hot, and they were so into this opener. Ricky Starks defeating Chris Jericho. Starks in control early on. He throws Jericho in the steps. Jericho lands some lariats in the corner. Ricky Starks does a rope walk, some old school, as someone would say. And Starks at this point, he's been countering everything, right? He's just been countering everything until Jericho suplexes Starks off the apron. Jericho is in control for a good majority of the match, but of course builds to a great babyface comeback. And the babyface comeback was fantastic, sure, on one end because the crowd was just so amazing. But on the other hand, you have Chris Jericho who's digging in his bag of tricks of just being a shit heel. And he is making sure, he made sure in this match that Ricky Starks was going to get over. TK and he and Ricky Starks, they all sat around, you know, planning out the match, and TK was like, we got to make sure that this Ricky Starks thing continues. And Chris Jericho said, I got your back, boss. I got this. Just a more fantastic work by Chris Jericho here. And maybe a little more understated than his more, in regards to his more spectacular matches that he's had in 2022. But he did everything as a heel should to get the babyface come back to work, and it did. Starks hits a Liger bomb, lifts the legs when Jericho tries a moonsault. He blocks a code breaker, but then gets taken into the walls. And we get a nice little moment here where Angelo Parker, of course, because 2.0 is ringside, right? Angelo Parker distracts the ref while Matt Menard uses the bat on Ricky Starks to knock him out. So referee Aubrey comes and does the arm gimmick, 1, 2, 3, but Ricky Starks maintains his arm up at the third time and fights out of the walls. DDT. He fights off 2.0 on top of that. Spears Chris Jericho, wins clean as a sheet. Clean as a sheet. Plus, on top of that, fights off the heels all by himself. Now, again, this is what a push looks like. Boys, girls, and everyone in between. This is what it looks like. Not 50-50ing while you're a champion after winning a championship off of a Money in the Bank briefcase cash in. This is not how it works. This is what a push looks like. Pinning top stars, top guys, fighting off the bad guys all by yourself. If you're even doubting, remotely sitting there scratching your head and wondering, is AEW behind Ricky Starks? Look, there's nothing more I can tell you to convince you at this point. After the match, the Jericho Appreciation Society come out to attack Starks. Action Andretti runs out to make the save, and he's got the burn makeup on his face. They didn't overdo it, didn't look too... But they didn't spend too much time zooming on his face either, which is smart. And then Hannah J and Tay Mello, they take him out, and Tay, she just drills him with a low blow, right? Like a low blow, like only a woman can drive into a man's nuts. You know, because guys will be careful. It was fantastic. I loved it. And Jake Hager ends up powerbombing Ricky Starks off the apron through a table. So this is not done. And they just added a little. And look, the post-match angle was super hot. Super hot. And I don't know, the show started with a hot match, and the match was hot. The match was very good. I enjoyed it. And then we get, after that, with a great post-match angle. Wrestling doesn't have to be complicated, and we don't have to overthink it. All of this connected. All of this worked. I'm excited now. I'm curious to see how this is all going to unfold. But we're not done with the Jericho Appreciation Society and Ricky Starks. And in the meantime, we're continuing the story that Jericho's losing a step, right? This is all so simple and all well done. Hangman Adam Page is in the ring. He's going to be interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He says he's still not medically cleared to compete, but he has one more test to pull, and if he clears it, he'll be there he'll be at the Forum next week to kick Jon Moxley's dick in the dirt. I'm not making this was said on a Wednesday night on cable television. He will kick Moxley's dick in the dirt. Well, Jon Moxley didn't take too kindly to having his genitals be kicked, into the earth like that. He likes to he's like, no man, I like to keep them clean. You're not gonna start kicking my junk into filth. What are you talking about? His music hits, he comes in. He has some mic issues. To begin with, the audience is chanting, "We can't hear you." Gets a little pissed off, drops a couple of F-bombs. This segment is going to cost Tony Khan so many fines. They lost a little time on this segment, maybe 30 seconds or so, but they recouped the segment no problem. Why? Because they're pros. He said he's tired of the candlelight vigil for Adam Page when he's wrestled through, he being Jon Moxley, when he's wrestled through shit and in brutal settings because it's his job. Page says he's been knocked out more times than he can count, so that's not the issue. He's been knocked out by enemies, strangers, and his best friends. What he's pissed about is Moxley calling him out and starting cracking jokes. Almost took his career, and Moxley's there cracking jokes. Mox says his little punk ass doesn't belong in the ring with him, and next week he's going to make sure Adam Page doesn't get back up. I love unrepentantly violent Jon Moxley. Moxley for me in 2022 was the very definition of pro wrestling. Everything that I love, that I get excited about for pro wrestling, Jon Moxley is it. He embodies it. And it continues again, where he's like, look, I'm not going to sit here and cry over the fact that I knocked you out. That is what I do for a living. And he's basically he called him a cosplayer last week, didn't he? You're better than that, Hangman. You're not a cosplayer, is what he said. You're better than that. This is going to rule. Next week's show at the Forum is going to fucking rule. Because then on top of that, they announced Danielson versus Takeshita. Just casual. There we go. We're just gonna Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita next week. No big deal. There you go. Jesus Christ. We're spoiled. Good little segment. Got me hyped for next week. AEW World Tag Team match. The Acclaimed successfully defended their titles against Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett is, Jeff Jarrett wants to fight Max Caster because of the Karen stuff. And listen, look, no bones about it, right? You guys know this. The Acclaimed ain't for me. It's not for me. And, I respect their work, the work ethic to get themselves over, and I am thrilled for them. But their act is so over, it's just not for me. And I've never been really a fan of Max Caster's raps, whatever. But since he's been doing TNA, Impact TNA lines. I've been all in on this. I think it's been hilarious. He did another one last night. I want more TNA Max Caster one-liners because Jesus Christ, there's more than enough material to work with. I kind of want, here's a challenge to Max Caster. If you're listening, try to work in how it's Jeff Jarrett's fault that he hired Vince Russo, right? Or that, you know, that Vince Russo worked for TNA and it's Jeff Jarrett's fault. Got no one but himself to blame on that one. But he continues with the Karen stuff. So, you know, Jeff Jarrett is you know, he wants a piece of Max Caster, and that's kind of what they build to throughout the match here, because Bowens does a lot of the heavy lifting. Famouser by Bowens on Jay Lethal. The Acclaimed have a double team and do some shenanigans with Billy Gunn in the ring with scissoring. They do the Jeff Jarrett strut and scissor, and the crowd just goes nuts for this. Again, there's no denying this act is over. There's no denying it. Lethal slaps Billy Gunn, who tries to get some revenge, but instead gets expelled from ringside. Bowens is the babyface in peril, like I mentioned, for the better part of this match. Lethal misses the elbow drop, but Jarrett keeps Bowens isolated. Eventually, Max Caster gets the hot tag, backhands Jeff Jarrett, thrust kick, and a pescado as well, flying crossbody. The heels do a double team iconoclast. I'm not quite sure exactly how you'd call it. Satnam gets kicked out, gets expelled him as well from ringside for getting involved in the match. This causes a bit of confusion, which allows Bowens to get covered. He puts his boot on the rope. The ref doesn't see it because of his positioning, and on top of that, Sanjay Dutt pushes the boot off the ropes. So Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal win the match and the titles. But wait, here comes Aubrey to reverse the decision, restart the match, announcing it to the audience and everything. And Bowens rolls up Jay Lethal for the win. Here's a little something I forgot to mention when I was talking about the WWE-isms in last night's Dynamite. This is a huge one. This is a big one. This is a tremendous, the dusty finish I'm not a fan of. And especially in the way this was executed. No. No. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, if it was in a vacuum, probably, but with everything surrounded, and I was already in a mood because of the stage, and then I see this, and then it just compounded with the ass boys later on. I was like, no, this isn't. Keep all of this WWE shit out of my eyesight. Again, if they want, look, if I want to watch it, if I want to watch this stuff, there's 7 hours of programming a week I can tune into, but I choose not to, because I prefer to watch pro wrestling than sports entertainment. So this was too much. I didn't care for it. I know what it sets up later. I understand, but still. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker are interviewed backstage. They wonder if Saraya will ever understand what it means to be in AEW, right? Because they're AEW originals. Jamie's the champion. This is what Britt says. Jamie's the champion. Britt's the boss, and she winks. Hayter's the killer. Baker's the pillar. Should we talk about the other women's segment? Let's just get this out of the way right now, because it all connects, right? A little later on in the evening, Renee Paquette is talking with Saraya, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. They're complaining. They're about Britt and Hayter, and then Renee, being the consummate journalist that she is, just goes straight out about the speculation regarding Saraya's tag partner next week. And Saraya goes, "Yeah, we've been trending about it every week." I'm like, no, stop. And she says she's excited because since coming to AEW, she's learned so much about the roster, and Toni is going to be her partner next week. Shida looks a little offended this is what I liked about the segment. I thought this was well done by Saraya, because at first she's giving accolades to both Toni Storm and Shida before we get to the pick. And she turns to Toni and she says, "Toni," she mentions her by name. She says, "Toni, you're a former women's champion, blah, blah, blah," and all of this. And then she turns to Shida and she says, "And you," what? And at first I'm like, "And you?" It's like, wow, that's a little harsh. You know, it's like her name is Hikaru. It's not that hard to pronounce. You know, it's fine. What is that? You know, and she drops a couple of things, but then you understand later. But then when she announces, you know, Tony's my partner, then you go, oh, and then she really like, then she turns her back and she starts talking like directly to Tony. She turns her back to Shida. I'm like, this rules. Okay, this is great. I thought this was very good. Now, let's just get all of this shit out of the way right now, because this is the thing. Mercedes Moné, now that this is what we're calling her now, moving forward. Now it's clarified. We know for sure it's done. Sasha Banks has been retired. Mercedes Varnado is still a thing, but it's not her wrestling name. So Mercedes Moné is still the point of discussion here. She did her debut in New Japan. She, on Twitter, on the same day of Wrestle Kingdom, she was thanking WWE. She was thanking Triple H and Vince, which was a little weird if we're being honest. And but I understand, but it's still weird. And so she, you know, clearly she's unshackled, and the speculation that has been going on amongst fans, mind you, amongst fans, is that Mercedes is going to end up in AEW and will be the mystery partner, right? These are fan theories, because even today, you know, if I'm not mistaken, you know, old Dave is on Wrestling Observer Radio and he's saying, you know, the thought in WWE is that Mercedes is going to be back later in the year. You know, it's maybe, okay. You know, like at this point, it doesn't matter, right? At this point, it's like, let's just live in the moment kind of thing. Like, and of course, people in WWE are going to be like, well, you know what? I kind of hope, you know, oh, we have the impression that she's going to come back. Well, why wouldn't they say that? Why would they completely throw themselves, you know, under the bus like that, you know, and say that, oh no, we don't think she's ever going to come back. It's like, come on now. Also fuels the, you know, the bitter Sasha fans and WWE fans that are unhappy and calling her a traitor and whatnot. So that gives them that gives them hope, right? But let's circle back to this. Let's circle back to the Forum show next week, which is gearing up to be a big show, like a big deal affair. So in theory, theoretically speaking, it would make tons of sense in Los Angeles at the Forum, a big show that AEW is stacking up in LA. It would make a lot of sense. One that they're already stacking with a huge main event in Jon Moxley versus Adam Page, a crowd pleaser in Bryan Danielson versus Konosuke Takeshita, a match that people have been clamoring to see. They're giving it away for free on TV. And then, why not have Mercedes Moné strut down to the ring, I should say, and debut? Like, it makes sense. It makes sense. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. And you don't know either. Like, anyone who's sitting around saying, I know, is a liar. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I've read one report from DAZN who said that it's a done deal. We've had Will Washington from Fightful, Grapsity. He's also very well connected with AEW, who was vague tweeting about something being an absolute 100% done deal. So as it stands right now, it's speculation, it's maybes. I haven't heard anything concrete. Dave was saying the opposite today. Meltzer is out there saying the complete opposite. So at this point, we don't fucking know what's going on. And if AEW has her in the chamber, ready to go, they're being very good with it. They're not saying a word. They're not even hinting at it. Outside of Britt doing the wink after she says, I'm the boss, that is the only clue we have. And they're not leaning into it. I'm going to tell you something. They're doing the exact opposite as to what they did with CM Punk. They never outright announced that CM Punk was returning, right? But for weeks and weeks previous to his debut in August, they were dropping hints everywhere from Darby Allin in a promo saying, I'll fight anyone, even if it's the best in the world kind of thing. We had Kenny Omega wearing Cookie Monster t-shirts, right? Like there were like the hints, they were ham-fisting the hints, okay? It wasn't even subtle at some point where you're like, okay, they wouldn't be doing this if this wasn't a thing. They sold out the United Center on the speculation that he was going to be. He was, never forget that the United Center got sold out on the speculation that CM Punk was going to be there. He was in no way, shape, or form announced. But he ended up there. But they had been dropping tremendously huge hints and delivered. Now, they are not doing this with Mercedes. You could argue that they probably didn't do it over the past few weeks because Sasha's contract had to expire with WWE, right? It had to come to, so that's fine. I can understand why you don't build to it. But at this point, especially if your show is next week, if Mercedes Moné is going to be there, a legitimate game changer for your company, someone who will draw in eyeballs, who will get people excited, who will come to check out what you're doing. If you bring her in and on a big time show on which you are having some of your biggest names wrestling on it in big time matches, wouldn't you announce her beforehand? I would absolutely be promoting the shit out of it. Just 2 days ago, she's in Japan. You absolutely put the pedal to the metal and you make sure everyone knows. Next Wednesday night, Mercedes Moné is going to be here. FKA Sasha Banks. She is going to be on my television program. Of course. Now, I can subscribe to the idea that this might be a swerve. It could be a swerve, and that, because the idea here in this little nugget of information that we have here, this little promo segment that happened, Shida is offended, and she looked offended, and you could absolutely go, you know what, Shida goes bonkers and beats the shit out of Toni Storm before the match, and then Saraya has to call in a favor and calls in her former pal Mercedes Moné to come do the thing. That could absolutely be a thing. But I don't know why you'd keep it as a surprise, is my point. Because outside of Britt doing one offhanded response here, there has been nothing. Not a solitary peep. There's still not enough for anyone to sit here confidently and say Mercedes Moné is going to be on AEW next week. You can hope for it or you can hope against it. That's fine. You can project yourself being in a moment of bliss saying, my goodness, my favorite wrestler, FKA Sasha Banks, is here. And I want to see that. And that's fine. You can hope for that. But tangibly speaking, AEW has done nothing to lead you to believe that Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, is going to be there. They've done nothing. So that's an indictment on anyone who is getting their hopes up, first and foremost. But second of all, if she's going to be there, this is an indictment on AEW, on Tony Khan. I would have promoted it. I would have made damn sure that people understood, even if you don't mention her by name, that she's going to be there. The fact that there is just one cursory little example, a cursory little statement, the use of the word boss and the wink by Britt Baker, who could be trolling. She's not above trolling us. Outside of that, there is no indication whatsoever that Mercedes Moné is going to be there. So if you're getting your hopes up, that's on you. And if AEW wanted to pop a rating, which they should have absolutely called this one in. There's still a full week ahead of us. Who knows what'll happen? They might do an angle on social media where, or on Rampage, I don't know, where Toni Storm gets taken out by Shida, clearly, you know, kind of thing. But I like how the angle was set up. And everything, and the purpose clearly here was to diffuse any discussion about Mercedes Moné showing up on AEW, right? If anything, if you take everything at face value right now, this was the smartest thing for them to do and not leave this mystery partner talk lead into next Wednesday, because if it had not been settled until Wednesday, people would have been disappointed that it's not Mercedes, and that sure wouldn't have been AEW's fault, would have been the audience's fault. The AEW did the right thing to just pump the brakes and be like, look, next week it won't be Mercedes if we take everything at face value. So there you go. Now, anyone who's still going, but it still could be, okay, you're creating a situation for yourself. You're working yourself into a shoot, brother. This is exactly what it is. Because don't get me wrong. Like, you know, my little conspiracy tinfoil hat situation is still here, and it's still close. I like it. I enjoy the chaos. Don't get me wrong. So listen, I'll wrap this up just by making sure we're clear here. Right now, there is no indication, real indication, anything. As I'm recording this on a Thursday on January 5th, there is no indication that this is legitimately happening, that Sasha Banks is showing up next week. It's all been diffused. However, if Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, I'll get used to the vernacular. Give me a couple of weeks. If Mercedes Moné shows up on AEW next week, that is a missed opportunity for Tony Khan to have done some proper promotion and get people to tune in. No reason to keep this as a surprise. Let her arrive. Let her land. Let people get excited about it. Have the word go around. Let people tune in because they know she's going to be there. I don't know how sold out the forum is. Sell more tickets. Like, there's no logic to it. There's no business logic, as far as I can see right now, to keep Mercedes Moné under wraps until next week. There's no business logic to it. So the more I think about it, the least probable it seems. But again, we still have a full week ahead of us. We've got a Rampage on Friday. Who knows what can, and a battle for the belts. Who knows what will happen? They could still run angles there. I'm just not convinced that Mercedes is going to be there. Jack Perry is he sets up a match next week. Again, another one that people want to see, him and Hook against Lee Moriarty and Big Bill Morrissey. And as Jungle Jack says, for one night only. Bryan Danielson defeats Tony Nese. Oh, good little match here. And I know the people get so hung up on, on the mid-carders and on the, the clear prelim guys. It's like everyone wants quarterbacks everywhere. They want all the wrestlers to be quarterbacks, but they don't want the rest of the team. They just want everyone to be quarterbacks. But you have all sorts of positions to fill. And Tony Nese, No bones about it. At this stage in his career, even before he left for AEW, I'm sure he was like, look, this is what I'm for. This is what I am. I'm not going to be a top guy. I just want to get paid doing this, get paid a good salary, and I'll be a good company guy. I'll do whatever you need from me, boss. Comes in, has a very competent, well put together, hard fought enhancement match with Bryan Danielson in his hometown. People are going, well, it's hometown in Seattle. Let's take a step back. Aberdeen. Aberdeen is like an hour. It's like 90 minutes out of Seattle. So don't get carried away here, Warren. Busaiku knee, kicks his fucking head in. Regal stretch for the win. Second week in a row where Danielson uses the Regal stretch to win a match. Just pointing that out. But after the match, this is the story. This is what happens. Danielson gets a mic. He says he wants another fight right now. He's good to go. He's in his hometown. He's feeling it. He wants to fight MJF. Calls him out. MJF, of course, the champ, comes out, says he's not going to fight Brady because he's a special attraction. He starts telling me he looks like a goat because Mama Danielson, back in 81, probably couldn't find a human suitor, implying Bryan Danielson's mother had sex with a goat. And Danielson says, well, you know what, Max, there's a lot of talk backstage about the amount of suitors your mother had. So yes, like I said earlier, we're getting into your mother's a slut jokes. Listen, I don't think it's the classiest thing to do. I sometimes I feel like it's, you know, it's very locker room stuff. I think the reason why this connected, it worked, it's because MJF was getting pinned down here by Bryan Danielson, a guy where he just said, you have no charisma, you have nothing. Then Danielson is like, yeah, well, yeah, my mother fucked a goat. Well, your mother fucked everyone in this arena kind of thing. And MJF got by it. That's the thing. And I think that's what made this work. Because, you know, in another company, everyone would just be smug, have that smug look and, oh yeah, well. But here, MJF got, and I think that's what made it interesting. He got so mad, in fact, at Bryan Danielson here, that he trots out the rogues gallery of AEW fan villains as guys who put him over. Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, and fucking Disco Inferno. Which I am absolutely 100% sure that this is the first time in 17 years that the name Disco Inferno has been mentioned on a live television wrestling show. Maybe shorter than that, right? Didn't he have like that intergender nonsense with Scarlett Bordeaux a couple of, just 5 years ago or so on Impact, Glenn, something. Look, the point is that guy went to bed with all, you know, all fuzzy and warm and saying, they remember me. So once we get out of this nonsense with the villains and the, you know, this, your mother's a slut jokes, we get into the core of this promo here. Because once again, MJF throws down a gauntlet for his challenger, which I fucking love. I am so glad. I am glad that this is MJF's thing, where it's like, well, if you want to fight me, I gotta have you jump through some hoops first. I fucking love it. I think this is great, and I'm glad it wasn't just a once, a twice. They're bringing it back again. Twice is a coincidence, 3 times a pattern. This is great. So he says to become #1 contender, and he checked this with Tony Khan, to become #1 contender, Danielson has to wrestle every week until February 8th so he can get his match at Revolution in March. Danielson says he'll do it under the circumstance, under the if he can pick the stipulation for their match, which would be a 60-minute Iron Man match. And I pop. And I know there's a lot of people who are exhausted at the idea of Iron Man matches. I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to tell you this. 30-minute Iron Man matches, which we've seen are a little ridiculous. 60 minutes is great. I am down for it. I am not afraid of long matches, especially when it involves two guys like this. I am very much looking forward to this. Because here's the thing. AEW has been bringing back some of the more, forgotten wrestling match types. Like the dog collar match, for instance, strap match, Iron Man match. I am in complete confidence here. I'm just thankful it's not a fucking ladder match. This is good. And here's the thing. Danielson adds on top of that, and this is what makes it truly glorious. Danielson says that he's going to expose Max with this match. Prove that the reason he doesn't work every week isn't because he's an attraction. It's because he doesn't have the cardio, the footwork, and he doesn't have what it takes to be champion. And that is something coming from anyone else on the roster. You'd be like, oh, okay. But coming from the greatest North American wrestler to ever do it, that is significant. A guy whose career reinvention has been, I am a pro wrestler. I am the best at what I do, and I'm going to fuck you up. Credibility, credible Bryan Danielson saying this. You're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm into this. And this adds a whole other layer. It's like, I'm better than you. And the thing is that he is, technically, on a technical standpoint, there's, even to this day, I don't even know who can wrestle on Danielson's level. So this all makes sense to me. And I think it's great. Max was great here throughout this promo. He really got mad and channeling his best flustered Ric Flair. Like it was great. I thought it was a very, very good promo. We get a recap of the All Atlantic Championship match that's that happened last week, and then the match that's happening at Battle of the Belts with Orange Cassidy versus Kip, which I sincerely believe Kip is winning because he's going to go wrestle in DDT for a bit with Penelope Ford. So I wouldn't be surprised if Orange drops the belt here. Hometown guy Swerve Strickland defeats AR Fox in a revisit of, as they said, some of their one of the most fondly remembered matches from Lucha Underground. Great initial back and forth between the two. It establishes, despite the fact that commentary's putting it over, you see it in the ring, they know each other really well. Corkscrew brainbuster by Fox. Big kick off the apron by Swerve. Elbow dive to the back of Fox's neck. He follows up with some kicks and an enziguri. Goes for the rolling cutter, but it's blocked by Swerve with a German suplex. Follows up with a flatliner. AR Fox hits a low cutter and a 450 dive. Parker Boudreaux passes an international object to Swerve, who lands a Death Valley driver off the corner turnbuckle to the apron. That was fantastic. And he lands a double stomp for the win. Good match. AR Fox was such a good pickup for the company. And again, this is probably not a guy, but we'll see in a couple of, probably not a guy that TK is bringing in saying, I'm going to push this guy to the moon. But in these types of roles, in these types of matches, it's fantastic. Put over the stars. Swerve is a star. I keep telling y'all. We get a couple of segments that we talked about previously. We're not going to retread them. Jade Cargill then and Red Velvet defeat Kiera Hogan and Skye Blue. Look, honestly, here's the story of this match. This crowd was hot for this match as well. They were excited to see Jade, and Jade continues to come across as a star. And look, she's in her element when she's cleaning house and using power moves and tossing people around. She even did the tour of the islands. What does she call it? The Eye of the Storm, which looks great on her, which is a move that she I like it better than the Jaded. Story here is that she and Red Velvet are not on the same page at all. They both have attitude to the point where Jade Cargill almost gets pinned by Kiera Hogan, but she lands a pump kick on Hogan and covers her. Didn't have to do the Jaded, so that should tell you on what level Jade Cargill is in regards to Kiera Hogan. Anyone who was expecting this long-term story, we're done here. Like, if Jade Cargill Jade Cargill did not have to pull out her primary finish to end her. She just had to use the bitchsicle kick, as I like to call it, and took out Kiera Hogan, and that was it. So we're done with that. Backstage, Jeff Jarrett and the crew are mad about the outcome of the match for reasons different from me. And we're getting a no-holds-barred rematch at Battle of the Belts this week. Battle of the Belts, man. I say this every time. Every time there's a new Battle of the Belts. But I was so excited at the prospect of these super cards, these super shows, these quarterly super shows. And there's been one good one out of the 5. Like one, the Claudio Takeshita one, that was a good one. But this one here that they're setting up, I'm not stoked. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it on a Sunday morning with a nice fresh cup of coffee and a sunny disposition. AEW TNT title match then wraps up the show where Darby Allin defeated Samoa Joe to become a 2-time TNT champion. We see Nick Wayne in the audience. Darby Allin goes to high-five him. Of course, Darby Allin was trained by Nick Wayne's dad. And Nick Wayne is if you don't know who he is a super hot indie prospect. Just one of these people who he started wrestling very young. He's 17 years old right now. And just one of these people who is so frustratingly good at pro wrestling. Just everything picks up so naturally and easily. You look at him and it's like, if this 17-year-old kid, I should be able to do this too, right? He's one of those. He's fantastic. And he's on a future contract with AEW. He has to finish high school first before getting on TV and performing on a weekly basis. But Darby Allin, goes to see him in the audience. And when Samoa Joe comes out, well, he puts his hands on Nick Wayne. But Darby Allin saves him with a dive. He drags Samoa Joe up the ramp, pulls out a fucking tall ladder and dives off of it, of course, because Darby Allin. The match finally starts in the ring. Samoa Joe Uranagi's Allin against the ring steps on the outside. Joe tosses Darby Allin around, kicks and throws him into the post. A leg sweep by Samoa Joe follows, and a double knee breaker, which was dope. And then he does a senton on Darby Allin, who's flat on his back, and Darby's legs are bent backwards under him, so he lands the senton on top of that as well. Just brutal shit. Single leg crab. Darby Allin pushes Samoa Joe into the turnbuckle. Samoa Joe pulls it off, just yanks off the top turnbuckle so it's exposed, and he starts choking Darby Allin out. Of course, Darby fights out of it and has Joe eat the exposed turnbuckle, lands a code red, goes for a coffin drop, lands it, goes for a second coffin drop, lands it, covers. Darby Allin wins the match. And yes, I saw the post-match after where he invites Nick Wayne to the ring. It's good stuff. Sting comes out to celebrate at the end too. Dad coming to hug his boy. It's great stuff. It's great stuff. This was good. All of this was good. A great main event. I kind of like the Samoa Joe beating the hell out of Darby Allin more a couple of weeks ago, where it was just him swinging him around and just beating the shit out of him. But this was very good. It was well composed, well put together, fun match, in a good way. And again, Darby Allin, home crowd, gets the big win. Crowd goes home happy, excited, they're thrilled. Well, they didn't go home. There were more tapings after. They had to do Rampage, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm talking about. And then you're sitting at home, you're looking at this shit rules. Look at how hot this shit is. Crowd is going nuts. And I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell anyone who did not see this coming, right? Out of the beating that Darby took a couple of weeks ago, the promo he cut last week, and then wrestling in his hometown, in front of his hometown crowd. I don't know why anyone didn't see this coming. And I don't know why anyone is mad about it. Well, I can understand maybe, but I don't know why anyone is shocked and surprised. This is like absolutely AEW's MO. To have the hometown people win their matches. What happened to Wardlow? Look, Wardlow is a whole other discussion at this point. Because as I said last week, and I maintain this, for some reason, AEW is cooling him off. He's not cooled off in front of the audience, but for some reason, we're pulling back on his booking. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Is it a conscious decision? Is Wardlow injured? Is he dealing with some personal issues? Look, AEW is not the most transparent company when it comes to these situations. Had they been more transparent about what was going on with Aleister Black, we wouldn't have had that whole period, late summer, where everyone is like, Malachi Black is going back to WWE. We wouldn't have had that period at all. If they had just come out and said, no, he's taking some personal time off and he'll be back. But it's so fucking obtuse. And that's why people get riled up. And that's why they're getting riled up about Wardlow, because all we can assume at this point, because there hasn't been any clear statements, is that Tony Khan is pulling him off TV for a bit and cycling him out for some reason, which none of us really understand. But the point also being, and I've said this multiple times when I would review WWE more thoroughly, sometimes cycling people off of television and then bringing them back later makes them even hotter. There's the idea of you left while you were hot, now you're back, and you're even hotter. We missed you. Like, they could have done this with Roman multiple times when people were so fed up of seeing him every week, taking up most of the show. Not saying that, I'm not making a comparison between the amount of TV time Wardlow would get as opposed to Roman. That's not what I'm saying. The point being is that maybe it's just like, we're going to cycle him out for a while, bring him back while he's out. But clearly, AEW's cooling him down for a reason. I don't know what it is. And we don't know what it is. To be clear, last week when I was saying he's being cooled off, people still love to see him. He still gets great reactions from the crowd. It's not a dud. We're not talking about like Dexter Lumis coming to the ring. The crowd is dead silent. People are excited to see Wardlow. And say AEW is cooling him down for some reason. I don't know what to tell you, but I will tell you that we are going to wrap up this week's AEW Dynamite review. Thank you very much for tuning in, for watching, for listening. Tuning in, as if you need you have to get on your AM dial and have it screech until you get like, that if you're old enough to remember AM dials, you know, you turn right up until you get that sweet spot, right? Because you turn and then you'd start hearing the audio, right? And it wasn't too bad, but then you'd turn a little more, a little less, you'd fiddle with it until you get that sweet spot where it just sounds clear enough, despite still being, you know, a fucking AM frequency, you know, where it's still very gritty, sounds like you're listening to, you know, a police scanner. But you get that sweet spot where it's like, this is the best level of audio that I can extract from this AM radio station right now. Thank you for being here. I'll be back on Tuesday for a MrWarrenHayes show. I'll be back with another Dynamite review next Thursday. Thanks for being here. See you next time. Wait, I should play the music. What is going on with me today? Let's play the music. There we go. See you next time.